This is your daily market review for Monday, July 8th, 2024. Let's go.
Hey everyone, this is my channel to help investors and traders develop a probability-based mindset to succeed. Also try and keep friends informed of what's going on in the markets and the economy, and also a little real estate content as well.
This is Dan Max at eXp Realty, aka the Trading Agent, and this is your daily market review for Monday, July 8th, 2024. Hopefully you're having a great day, had a great long weekend, even though the market was kind of open as we talked about. The market was holding up. There didn't seem to be anything stopping it. The breadth has been worsening day by day, but you know what? Hey, it doesn't mean the market can't go in any particular direction. We got some upgrades with NVIDIA today. We got some downgrades. We got some, mediocre action in certain parts of the market. It's interesting. Again, as we've talked about, light volume summer, choppy action. Again, what's working, what's not. Again, like trade like Intel, we talked about, great trade if it popped up. Names that you would follow previously. Again, trade around those positions because it's hard to, again, some names are holding up as we talked about, but sustaining bigger moves, again, it only seems to be certain names as we've talked about. So again, trade around your position, define your risk, know what you're willing to do. And if you have to be a day trader in and out pretty quickly, I don't blame you in this type of market. I really don't. Again, the bottom could pop out. You get trapped either way. So, new to the channel, check out the Discord room, link in the description below. Again, posting all of our trades and ideas on the Twitter. So, again, don't hesitate to reach out. If you want to schedule a Zoom chat, again, use the link in the description. I appreciate it. If you want to check out the website, tradingagent.com, got a lot of stuff here going on. Lots of fun stuff. Again, the recommended reading. Again, read the books. There's not a lot out there. There's one that's an almanac and 2 books. It's really that simple. Trading does not have to be that complicated. Again, if you're new to the channel, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I appreciate it highly. And again, if you're looking for any real estate ideas, buy, sell, invest, it's slow and fast. Interest rates, as we talked about, have a 6 to 9 month lag effect. We're seeing it. I'm seeing sellers every day, every time I do showings, every time I talk to people. Hey, do how interested is your buyer? How interested is your buyer? It's like, okay. Really, you want to put off that kind of vibe, but the reality is, you know what? Yikes. Sellers are kind of stuck. And again, it's all about good marketing. If you don't do a good job marketing, you don't get it on the market, you don't sell it quickly, buyers are just coming in and going to lowball the crap out of you. So again, reach out. Let me help you find an agent anywhere in the country. Let me repeat. I can help you out. Again, not just Denver based. Again, I have a referral network of great, amazing agents like myself anywhere in the lower 49, lower 50. Anyway, here you go. We talked about, a lot of people are now starting to talk about, well, the Feds are going to cut in September. Yeah, it's more than likely. But if that's the case, remember, when the Feds cut, it's usually not because things are good. We've talked about how liquidity has definitely been pumping out from other parts of the world. Okay, well, Bitcoin needs to hold here. Just needs to hold here. We've talked about, I personally, again, like gold, silver, all these things, Bitcoin will be when the Feds, pivot. Were we there yet? Nope, they're not there yet. But again, liquidity's coming on. So it's your call. It's your call. 60, 90 days where things will be. Oils, we talked about, overbought, rose on the hurricane, buy the rumor, and then sell the news when it hits land. Well, here you go. Rose from 72 up to 84. I'd be taking profit. Natural gas, as we talked about, I like this trade long term. Talked about selling calls, shorting the KLD essentially. Yeah. Again, I would be waiting for natural gas to pull back in time. Patience, grasapa, patience. So the dollar, as we talked about, the floatiest turd in the toilet, overbought, chopped. Data was doo-doo last week, and guess what? It pulled back. Not surprised. TLT, again, caught a bid with the data getting I don't know, the data is just so bad, y'all. The economic data is not bueno. No bueno. So what's the market going to do? Again, that's time will tell. But I've gone on record. I do like the TLT, and it's kind of looking like this might be a trend line, right? You could probably draw that now. 3 touches, and it's a hold. So not surprised. We thought it might chop around in here. It's been holding up pretty well. Again, the economic data as it comes out just is not good. And so I guess people will, at some point, in my opinion, they will buy bonds, right? The VIX, as we talked about, 50-day, just chopping around. You're positioning, depending on however you want to decide you want to do it. advantage to selling some stocks, taking profit, buying puts, longer dated stuff, obviously not buying 1 week out, and seeing what happens. Again, hedging, right? Taking profits depending on the stock. Just be careful, right? Just be careful. Don't get caught. What is it? Don't go get caught picking up a penny in front of a bulldozer potentially, or a nickel or a dime. VIX, again, we've talked about this holding higher. SPY today, again, closed. I don't know, I wouldn't say closed at the highs, but rallied at the close. Look at this tight doji. This action is incredibly tight. So just keep an eye on it, see what happens tomorrow. I mean, we talked about expecting choppiness going into CPI and PPI and the start of earnings on Friday. QQQ, same kind of tight action. IWM, nice little pop, and then gives it back. Kind of a trend line here. Just, and again, it's not exact, but worth a watch. Again, lagging. DIA, as we talked about, lagging. Look at the wick today on high volume. Tough to say. Gold, again, everyone is getting excited about it. It's like, I mean, we talked about at the end of June that there's typically a seasonally buying pattern for gold into July. I mean, is that it? I'm just watching it, just looking at it going, man, I don't know. You could argue it's a head and shoulders top. It invalidates the head and shoulders top, then it goes ripping higher. Silver, I thought would be down more today. Actually held up pretty good. GDX, again, if the market's up, you would think miners should hold up pretty well. They did. GDXJ, same kind of thing, barely down. Okay, not bad if you're a gold bug. We'll keep an eye on it. AEM, we talked about this one rallied nicely. Again, I think this is acting better than a lot of other names. AG, this has been a laggard, but again, if you're watching the 200-day, nice little bounce. I mean, we talked about these being oversold, some being oversold more than others, some holding up. We talked about Newmont, right? Like this range here. I mean, this makes sense. If it wants to break out, it's got to do it soon, right? And if it doesn't, I would expect it just to chop around. And then at some point, if the market gets, as I've said and go on record, go back to the past, if the market gets murdered, do not be surprised if miners get destroyed too. Like nothing's safe. That's the hard part here. Everyone wants to get excited. Pass, again, chopping around. Taiwan Semi, I mean, this thing got up to 192. Look at this wick. Hits the freaking fib extension. Wow. I mean, what are you going to say? I mean, again, if you've been going back to the well shorting this, you've lost every time. And let's just call it what it is. So, again, I haven't gone back. I still like it for short in time. I like this candle after a doji, bigger volume, but again, I like NVIDIA short better. Moo, here you go. Like Micron, we talked about it gapping down. It's going to hold around here for now. AMD, some of the folks in this Discord room identified some call buying. We said as long as it holds this trend line, I mean, it could chop out. And then Drew, like, hey, wouldn't be surprised if we got in the 170s, maybe 180s. Congrats if you took this trade. I mean, it makes sense. NVIDIA got an upgrade today, price target, and then just nothing really all day. Gaps up, wicks, gives it all back, chops around. Adobe, I like this potentially for a short up here. Like, again, I talked about this today. Like, I'd be watching for retest, chopping around. Apple holding up pretty darn strong. I would be red alert, though. I mean, I'm not a fan of this type of candle at highs. Keep an eye on it. Worth a watch. Amazon, again, I talked about this on Friday. You know, it's chopping, it's holding up. Everybody knows it should expect to run into Prime Day. We'll see if it continues on. Again, if you've got profits, protect them. That's all I would say. Meta identified this one as an interesting outside day potential. Didn't drop. It didn't get destroyed, in my opinion. So again, holding up. Watch this, 530 area. The CRM, right? We've talked about this one getting oversold, rallying back after earnings. Okay. Interesting little formation here. I would keep an eye on this. Absolutely keep an eye on that. Guggenheim, here you go, right? Holding up strong, nothing much. Again, inside days after big moves, I mean, don't be surprised. Again, again, market's trying to take the most amount of money from the most amount of people, all the chasers, and then a day or two, and then they beat up the calls, and then we'll see what happens. Microsoft, little inside day, nothing. I mean, it's tight action, y'all. NDAQ, as we've talked about, no love. I mean, I think this exchange in time gets pounded as people diversify out of tech stocks and into other names. It's a repeating formula, in my opinion. MicroStrategy, again, we talked about this 1200 range. Holding, Bitcoin held. Yeah, I mean, it has to hold here. The biggest worry for me with MicroStrategy would be like a bounce up to 1400 and then boom. Boom goes the dynamite. That would be the biggest worry if I was long it. But again, I think it could bounce here. I mean, obviously, it's just Bitcoin holds. Netflix and holding up. That's all you can say. Roblox, nice little pop today. Continuing, right? You broke through support resistance. I mean, no reason why you shouldn't get up into this 41 area. Again, I like this company long term at lower prices. That gap down was a massive trap. I mean, somebody's on, like, again, the market maker had to absorb some inventory. And here you go. Pan W, we talked about this one being an up play after the 320s. Just watching it today, rally back at the close. Again, this could be a trap for bulls or bears. Watch your levels. Watch the 345 level. Got it. Tesla, here you go. Holding up. We talked about this one. Once it broke the 100-day because it was so important, and it back tested, that was your gift. Talk about why back tests happen, right? You trap out people, right? And here you go. Back up at the highs. I mean, I would not be surprised by a little higher. Also, wouldn't be surprised if it danced around here for a little bit. I mean, you go from freaking 177 up to 260 in what, 3 weeks? All right, let it chop out. Insight, again, I like this company a lot. I've told people, again, I think they have I don't know, I think they have a long-term potential to be bought out because of the market cap, the revenue potential, everything just seems right. And we've liked certain biotechs before. And yeah, I mean, this might not be a bad, I mean, could you get down to 50? Yeah. 58 is not a bad buy, in my opinion, down to lower. Again, just keeping an eye on it. McDonald's. Again, man, you were flirting with disaster. You better hold the lows. DKNG, we talked about how DraftKings, like, season over is betting, chopping them below the 200-day. I'm not surprised. I mean, you go from 44 down to 37, 36. Let it chop. Airbnb Bizzle, chop around, right? We talked about how when it rose over the 50-day, it could get to the 100-day. And could it fill the gap? Good guess. I mean, some of the names, you just kind of leave them alone. You just watch them. Costco has been holding up damn well. Can't really say much about that. Right? Starbucks, not so much. We talked about the 50-day. We talked about this as a dead franchise, in my opinion. Like, I don't think there's much upside at this point. Slowing down, gaps down. I mean, you watch what happens at the retest. If it holds, it could pop some more. It could get. I mean, you could go into what's called like a choppy channel, a sloppy choppy channel post earnings on a gap down. And if you want to play the range lows, you could if it holds. If it doesn't, I mean, you could short the breakdown. It's a very binary, simple thing. FedEx, again, after this gap up, chopping, worth a watch. I mean, kind of on the intraday, it looks like a head and shoulders top. Be aware of that. It could be a top intraday. Caterpillar, you know, the cat. Meow. 20-day, chopping around again. New cores, we talked about some of these global growth names just have not had much. And every time they pop, they give it right back. Pop, give it back. Pop, give it back. X, 35, 36, holding. The VALE. Hey, we've talked about this, and I like this name long-term at the evaluations at these levels. Makes sense, right, in this area, but I just don't want to be the first to buy it. I just don't. I don't want to be the first one to buy it. Maybe I missed maybe some points. Maybe I'd not. I don't want to go into commodities before the Feds pivot. I've tried to do that before. Arrow, again, we talked about the copper names. They look good long term. Again, we like junior copper, right? We like copper names that are going to get bought out. Absolutely freaking lootly. I mean, we talked about it coming back down to trend. Talked about bouncing, went a little higher. I mean, it looks like kind of a awkward head and shoulders top potentially. But either way, I mean, as long as it holds like the 8, 10, see how all these moving averages are rising? As long as it holds it on its back test, it should be all right. CCJ, again, we talked about when Goldman upgrades the high, you got to go. CF, I mean, we like ag, but let them just get pulled back. Mosaic, let them pull back. NTR, let them pull back. Let them pull back. Aaron, we like aluminum long term. Absolutely, we do. We love this name long term. This one's tough. Because again, I mean, if you want to get involved early, that's your choice. I'd rather just wait. But again, just watching these names. XLF, I mean, tried to break out over the blue zone. Again, gives it back. JPMO, again, Diamond's not buying back the stock. Why are you? Earnings on Friday. Please be careful. Morgan Stanley Morgan, chopping, holding up. Maybe it's a retest. Maybe it's not. Bank of America has been holding up pretty well. Again, some of these names in the banking, you just don't short. Yet, potentially. Goldman Sachs holding up. Again, that wick was a little wild today. I mean, I saw it up almost $10 from here. That wick, I mean, I would, again, going into earnings, I think it's next week for them. Friday is, who's you got? You got JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Citigroup. Yep, so the brokers are going to be early next week. Worth watching. worth watching. I mean, rise into earnings is a little dangerous. Gary, we talked about junior banks, just showing you why it's a mess. XBI, we talked about this being a risk-on name, chopping around with no risk on. However, you do have a big consolidation pattern. Potentially, you could go with or go against. I mean, it's just whenever you break out of this, if that makes sense. Hopefully, if you have questions, do not hesitate to reach out, right? XHB, we talked about the housing indexes, right? Check this out, right? This is just flirting with disaster, y'all. It's been a huge run, and housing is not holding up as well as they try to advertise. Solar, as we talked about, being oversold near term. Okay, we'll see. Sedge, said if you shorted in the 300s, please take profits in this 26 to 25 range. Okay, I mean, I'm not saying like it's going to go rip into the moon, but it could pop. I mean, there's a ton of short interest that has to unload, and maybe they get back at different prices. And we talked about these names being oversold near term. ENPH, same thing. For solar, getting stuck here in these 220 ranges after dropping from the 300s. Okay, not surprised if they're due to bounce. HYG, again, you got to be high to your mind to be buying corporate debt, in my opinion. If you like to be high, go right ahead. If you don't buy it. Please don't. Oil, talk about being overbought. You know, again, this is always a trade with oil. Take notes of this. Anytime you see a hurricane, buy the rumor, sell the news when it hits land. I'm telling you, that trade has always worked. And again, you have to be careful, because if the winds change and something else changes and it doesn't hit land, you could get knocked around too. UNG, again, I do not like the UNG as a long-term buy. We talked about this thing as a decaying trash ball. But we do like to short the KOLD. I think that makes sense. And we talked about KOLD popping. Perfect. If you shorted and covered in the 30s, hot damn. Here we go again. Again, this could be another area where it chops around, but man, I would really love 68, 70 plus. Keep an eye on it. XOPs, we talked about oil and gas names rose after post-Trump. I mean, that might be the new trade. Anytime Trump's really going to get involved, oil and gas could rise. Holding the 200-day for now. ExxonMobil, again, we talked about this pop and then chopping around these ranges. Right? We talked about CBE, again, another name that we like. Popped in the 20s. Keep an eye on it. Valero, I mean, look at these gasoline names. I mean, they popped last week and bam! Like Chef Emerald, they're just beating them. Better hold the 200-day, right? Watching this stuff. Occidental, again, I love Occidental long-term. So does Buffett. But I will not be buying until what? He's done. And when I say he's done, selling calls, selling puts. He's trading a range, y'all. And people don't understand that. The guy is a freaking genius. He will sell calls and puts, and he doesn't care. And he'll buy more stock with that proceeds. EQT, again, we like EQT. We like natural gas names long-term. Let them play. I mean, this is a big consolidation pattern. What's the rush? Wait for the low end of range, right? Flex LNG, last but not least. Again, I think we'll be natural gas exporters. I've tell people, please, for the love of God, do not chase this. For the love of all is holy, okay? So if you have any questions, again, don't be surprised. The market chops around. Remember, we got Thursday, Friday, CPI, PPI, and some bank earnings. I don't think the market's going to do much of anything. However, headlines could come out of nowhere. That's your biggest risk. So be careful. If you holler, if you have questions, talk to you soon.